The more movies you watch, the more similarities you see connecting each movie together. Not every movie can be this unique, original masterpiece. And these similarities have a name. We call these tropes. But sometimes tropes can be necessary writing tools. I don't know if I would necessarily consider what I'm about to talk about a quote-unquote trope, but it is definitely something that I have seen in a lot of movies. I want to talk about a technique within script writing that is not often spoken of. A lot of people talk about this term dramatic irony. Dramatic irony is when the audience knows something that the character doesn't. A lot of people reference Alfred Hitchcock when we talk about this term. The old bomb under the table analogy. You know, if you have a bunch of people sitting at a table and they're all having dinner, there's no tension in that. If you have a bunch of people sitting at a table, they're having dinner, and they know there's a bomb under the table, there's tension, but what's even better is if the bomb is under the table, and we as an audience know that that bomb's there, but they don't. What I want to talk about is similar to dramatic irony, but not quite. What would you consider dramatic irony if the main character was just as ignorant as the audience? What happens when you have a story where you're just as left in the dark as the main character, but for some reason the side characters and the antagonists that this main character runs into knows a bit of information that could be quite valuable to that main character? What would you call that? Personally, I would call that first-person ignorance. You have a movie like Training Day. Training Day is a movie about a detective and a dirty detective. These two detectives get into a lot of shenanigans, let's just say. But the best part about that movie, the best tidbit of drama in that movie, is something that is not fully elaborated on until the end of the movie. Ignacio, Denzel Washington's character, gets into a bit of a scandal with the Russian mob. He owes quite a bit of money to the Russian mob. But the problem is Ethan Hawke's character knows nothing about this situation. And so as you go scene to scene to scene, you constantly hear about this Russian incident that happened in Las Vegas.
Lonzo, heard you had an expensive weekend in Vegas. How did you ever screw up so bad?
Nothing. It's nothing. Forget it. You know, I didn't know. It's not my town. I'm not omniscient.
It's mentioned quite a bit, as if everyone's in the know. But we don't actually find out about what this Russian incident is until the last maybe 20 minutes of the movie. I believe this technique of keeping the audience in the dark, it gives you a level of relatability to that main character. We don't all like our main characters to be in the know all the time. We like our main characters to be flawed, to be somewhat incompetent. Another example of first-person ignorance I would present would be in The Matrix. There's a specific scene that happens where Neo is told to do a thought-to-be impossible task. Throughout the entire movie, we know just as much about how the Matrix works as Neo does. To an audience member, anything is possible in this world. And so, when presented with a task of jumping from one skyscraper to another, that seems insane. But as soon as he is presented with this task, we then cut to a scene of the crew on the Nebuchadnezzar.
But what if he makes it?
No one's ever made the first jump.
I know. But what if he does?
He won't.
It's made very clear that this is not the first time something this insane has happened. This is a test. This is a trial that everyone has had to go through at one point or another. But the thing is, we don't know that until we are shown that scene. The way we get the information about how the Matrix works isn't just from giant monologue scenes with Lawrence Fishburne. It's also from the chit-chat that we hear between crew member to crew member.
Everybody falls the first time.
It makes the world feel more alive. It makes it feel like it's real.
What is real?
The most famous example of this would be something like in Star Wars. In A New Hope, all we know about Darth Vader is that he's an insane villain. He's a bully. I mean, he's choking people left and right, trying to get information. He really has no heart or soul in A New Hope. But when we get to Empire Strikes Back, we start to see a glimmer of a sensitive side to him. But still, we know him to be a villain. The biggest twist we know from Star Wars is that Darth Vader is Luke's father. But the reason this is such a big twist is because we as an audience member only know as much as what Luke Skywalker knows.
Hell, even Obi-Wan knows Darth Vader is Luke's father, but he instead decides to withhold that information and pull the good old point of view excuse.
Why didn't you tell me? You told me Vader betrayed and murdered my father.
Your father was seduced by the dark side of the Force. He ceased to be Anakin Skywalker and became Darth Vader. When that happened, the good man who was your father was destroyed. So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
George Lucas didn't know that he was going to write Darth Vader as Luke's father when he was writing A New Hope. It just worked out that way. And so when he wrote the first movie, Darth Vader was intended to be that villain. He was intended to be that one-note evil character. But what gives Vader life is the fact that, yes, he is evil. Yes, he is that villain, but he had a past. And now we know he's a father, and that there's still hope for him to have a heart after all. We wouldn't have had that moment had we known right off the bat that Darth Vader was Luke's father. As an audience, we had to be left in the dark for that. And in order for Luke's character to work, he had to be left in the dark for that as well. The last example I want to talk about is Inception. Inception does everything that I've described this first-person ignorance to do, except it does it in reverse. Leonardo DiCaprio's character is very relatable, but he's also mysterious. There are things about him that are left in the dark to us as an audience member. The dark secrets that he hides don't get revealed until about halfway through the movie. Elliot Page's character finds out about his history by infiltrating one of his dreams and finds that he has been keeping his dead wife alive through the action of creating dreams for her, creating memories. The reason he's been creating these memories is because he feels the guilt weighing down on him of his former wife's death. He feels he could have helped. He feels that he is responsible for her suicide. This guilt weighs on him so much. Within his subconscious, she appears as a saboteur. He decides not to tell his team members about this because it could be a liability. But in the end, this secret backfires. The main character doesn't always have to be the bearer of ignorance for this technique to work. It can also be side characters that are somewhat the stranger in town, a rookie, so to speak. But regardless of how it is portrayed, this technique is undeniably impactful when executed correctly.